Welcome back. This is Wisconsin Shoe Guy, and today we're going to take a look at a pair of MTO split toes that I had made by CNES. And these, I've had them now for a few months. I've probably worn them 4 times. Not a lot, mostly on carpet because my home is carpeted. But as I have worn them, I've come to a conclusion that CNES higher end shoes, and this is much higher end than the A1N1 that I had previously reviewed, are much nicer. Now the leather on these, I'm gonna say, like, if the on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the best, 10 being the worst, the last ones were probably somewhere around a 6. So they were not so nice, but they weren't terrible. But they had a lot of stretch in them. These I'm going to call a 5. I don't feel like they're as soft as they should be, and they do have the flex points just kind of hold the creases a lot more. It's not as micro creasing as I like. Now, that said, listen, creasing is not bad. We've talked about this on the channel many times, and there's been a lot of articles out there. Some leather just creases. And some of this could just be fit, okay? But I don't, I just feel like the leather is not as soft, which is not a creasing issue. And that is something that just kind of bugs me. And it's the lining is, doesn't feel like it's veg tan. It feels like it's chrome tanned. And the outside is really, it's not supple. Okay, and I've used all kinds of different conditioners on it to see whether or not I could soften it. And honestly, I've had a lot of experience where the leather wasn't that supple out of the box, and then I put a good conditioner on it, and it was beautiful and wonderful and great. And this is not. Now, this is box calf, so box calf has its own kind of tanning. And maybe that's it. I generally tend to gear toward Vegano. Now, I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense that would be the difference, but generally speaking, that's just my impression of the shoes. They're also dark brown, but they lean really, really dark, almost too dark for me, which is a downside. But I feel like the break and the colors as it breaks, especially on the flex points along the edge here, are actually, it's mellowing a little bit, and I think it'll mellow more over time. And now I'm not planning on getting rid of these, and I'll tell you why. It's because of this apron, this stitch here, and the toe stitch. I love the way this came out. And I'm really a big fan of the definition on this. Now, the definition from brand to brand is not always consistent, and I do like the way that came out. The little ridge here is really nice, and the way that the toes came out is really nice. And honestly, I'm more comfortable with the fit of these than I am with any other CNES that I've worn. So while I've let my Adelaides go, I'm definitely keeping these for a while. You know, as I look at, now this is a big thing in quality for me because this is a very hard stitch to do. One of the hardest, I think. And so definitely looking at that. Now, if you look at I mean, there's some handwork that was done to carve out the waist. This is a 270-degree welt, so these are stitched, and you can see it in the channel. The stitches are pretty dense. You know, they've done a nice job on it. That the fudging does not necessarily match the stitching, which is a little off. They also have like a thin fudging on the edge, and then a thicker fudging on the inside. It looks like somebody slipped with the wheel. It's kind of weird. Probably done by machine, but just a little different. I think maybe they actually sanded down the fudging on the edge, on the top of the edge there. Just a strange thing. Now, you know, I mentioned on a pair of Vachias that they had a big ledge thing. So this has a ledge, but it's not as big as the other one. But the screws are all recessed really, really well. So big difference there. Now this also has a fiddleback waist. It's not as nice as it is on some of the other shoes, and part of the reason for that is that this is a Bologna construction, so it's not as much done by hand, right? I mean, this is they've done a little bit of handwork here on the waists, the fiddle they've done some, but most of this is just machine done. So, and candidly, these are $400 shoes, so I don't expect the same degree that I will from, you know, $600-700 shoes on up. So very straight on the heel. I think they've done a pretty good job overall. I think the sole work is really nice. You know, a little disappointed with the toe, but it's not harsh. And as I said, aside from the leather, everything else on the quality is good. Now the fit, you know, I went with the same size as I had in the Adelaide, so this is a 45 standard. Actually, the Adelaides were 44 wides. This is a 45 standard, and it does fit my foot pretty well on the instep as well as across the vamp. It's not too voluminous. It has a little bit of volume, but not too bad. But I will. I'm going to keep this size if I order from them again. They are not. This side is dramatically asymmetrical, and so you can see this is much lower than it is over here. On this pair, it's the same on the side, so the outside is less. Now that is part of the work that led to them launching their hand grade line, because this is, you know, hand lasted, it looks like, and if it is machine lasted, which it probably is machine lasted, but somebody just took the time to do it asymmetrical, which is cool, and I really appreciate the efforts that they took to make the shoe as good as it can be based on their production. So nice details, nice stitching. You know, again, the sole is really nice. The only thing that could be better on these is really the quality of the leather. And that's not to say that the leather is terrible. It's just not what I get on like a high-end shoe. And candidly, unfortunately for CNES, that's what I'm comparing it to. But I would also, if I compare it to like an Allen Edmonds is going to be much softer leather. But these break in, they feel good, they're good on the feet. It's just not quite as soft. So hope that helps. And this is CNES in their GMTO split toe.